Right, so welcome everyone. Today you join me on the banks of the Quarry Pool here in Aston. I'm mega excited for this one. It's probably one of my favourite styles of fishing. That's fishing, say 20 to 25 metres out with 8 mils, and we're going to be approaching it with Waggler and bomb tactics. Now, the reason why I've come here today to go through this, because it's getting that time of year now. The water's getting a lot warmer and the fish are buzzing around more. And these two approaches can be absolutely deadly on these open style cart waters. So I've got a few tricks and tips up my sleeve to show you to get the most out of your session or even in your matches. So let's get stuck into it. Now we're going to get stuck into what we've got set up today. Now this approach is dead simple, literally just got 2 rods. This can cover you from all ranges, so it'll make more sense when I go through it. So the first one is the bomb. Now, one thing I like to be with my gear with this is nice and robust. So I just want a nice simple 10-foot rod. It's got Superior X, just 10 foot. Nice and strong. So there's some nice decent sized carp in here, up to 20 pounds. So we're going to be getting hopefully stuck into them fish today, but you just want a nice solid rod that's not going to let you down. Now, reel wise, Centris 420, just a little bit bigger than a 320, just because I want a winding power of just bringing them fish back, makes it a little bit easier. Bigger reel. And then I've got 8 pound main line, just nice and robust. If I use 6 pound, I'd just be always a bit conscious of not having the strength in there, robust, but with 8 pound, I know I'm going to get trying to get loads and loads of sessions out of it. That's just a feeder line. Now, down to the business end. Now, you may be thinking it's a bit unique, this sort of setup. Now, I do like the sort of cube fishing with the bombs, but recently, over the years, I've come onto this sort of style away, and there's a reason why. Now, as you can see, I've just got literally the bomb running direct on the line. No little links to change bomb. Now, I'm very particular. I just like to fish my bomb like an ounce lead, just so it's nice and solid on the bottom. So when the fish picks that bait up, it's got something to bounce against, so we can hook them fish, and you're not going to get them rejected bites. You hopefully hook more fish. So literally, like I said, I've just got it running on the line. Then I've just got a quick change bead there, and then the hook length's quite different to what normal. It's not normal power line. I've actually got fluorocarbon, so I've actually got 0.22 fluorocarbon, a little bit stiffer. And what I'm trying to achieve with this is my bait falling away from a bomb. So it's just a little bit stiffer. I can just get it a little bit further away from a bomb. So when the fish picks it up, hasn't got as far to travel before it hits that bomb, gives you that nice quick bite. So that's the main, the hook length material. And then down to a size 14 KKM. Now, if it was really summer bagging, we're catching loads and loads of fish, I'd probably look to use a KKH, but this one I've just got a KKMB and a 14. Depending on fish size, you can go up as well to say a 12, or even if you can get bigger in the KKH, is if fishery is allowed, a 10, but I like a 14 or a 12 at the minute, because the fishing, you're just picking odd fish off. You're not catching loads of fish, you're not hurting all your gears. So a nice 14, nice and simple, and just a medium bait band so I can band me 8 mil. Now, the Wagler setup is I've got a Superior X in 12 foot, just because I like that extra bit of length, just so I can get out there, make sure I can get to it at where I need to be fishing. Also, it picks up a little bit quicker when you're striking. Now, reel wise, I've got a 320 ST Centris, just because a little bit smaller, so it goes with Waggler fishing. We're going to be reeling in and out a lot of times, hopefully, when we've got a different style Waggler on. So we're going to be a lot more busier than we are with a bomb. So a little reel, just nice on your rod, not too heavy, just makes it nice and lightweight. Now, Main line on this is the 020 Float Max, just because I've got £5 line. Like I said, I'm not just want it nice and robust. I'm not going to get broke on this. Don't want to go too light because we are going to be catching some bigger fish today. It's not the winter months where I can get away with £3 main line. £5's perfect. And it's going to be able to, when we're chucking a waggler, it's going to be able to, we can punch that waggler to the distance we need to, so we can get it in that desired area and catch them fish. Now, waggler style, waggler wise, I've got two different types of waggler. Now, I've got your conventional sort of like pellet waggler style, short, stubby for fishing really, really shallow. And then I've just got a Jura waggler in a 4 gram, which is a little bit bigger. Now, the reason I've got these two different style of waggler, now if the fishing's really, really good and the fish are quite high in the water, I'm going to be looking to fish conventionally, like casting a lot, trying to get the fish. If they're tuned into noise, I want the fish coming to the noise, so I want to be fishing. I'm going to be fishing a lot quicker, be in and out with my reel, keep casting, keep making that plop of the pellets going in, raining it all the time. But sometimes, if it went a little bit overcast and the fish went a little bit deeper and sat a little bit deeper, say 3 to 4 foot, even 5 foot on some venues. Now this venue is where I'm sat today, it's probably 10, 11 foot on that long pole, or that longer line where the waggler and bomb line's fishing at 20, 25 metres. So a lot of the fish sometimes can sit like 4 to 5 foot deep. Now, don't get me wrong, I could fish it with that style, but I'll just like to fish it with a Jura waggler just so I can cast a little bit further in my feed, sink my line, bring it back into the feed, and I'm fishing ineffectively in my feed where the fish are grouping around. That could be a great way of catching if the fishing's a little bit tricky and then fish are just eating in your bait. Now, don't get me wrong, so there's two types of wagglers there. Got one for the splash and one for everything in the feed, so I've just got both set up. I can chop and change them because I've just got a quick change bead, put on the pellet waggler kits. So if I feel I need to change, I can slide everything down, say 2.5 foot, fish a little bit shallower. If I feel like I need to go a bit deeper, it goes overcast or the fish drop down a little bit, I can shove this waggler back on, put my depth back on. And then literally I've just got a pre-tied as a hook length KKM 017, 15 inches, just with a bait band on there, just dead simple, size 16. So not messing around, not too much difference, but just depends on how the fish are feeding. But this setup ain't going to change much, so it allows me to fish, say 16 inch deep up into 4 or 5 foot deep with this setup, so all areas covered. Just touch on the bait quickly. It's not very complicated. Just got some 8mm from Fishery 8mm. Now this is because I want to be able to get out to the distance I want to be able to fish. I don't want to fire them too far, so nice comfortable distance where I can chuck my waggler just past if I need to and keep it nice and grouped. The last thing I want to do is bottom my catapult out, trying to go into the middle of the lake, and then all of a sudden I'm not going to be accurate. This is the one thing today, you're going to be trying nice and accurate, keep that bait going in the peg, just so nice, simple. 8mm, going to allow me to group them pellets there, not go too far, so we can just get a nice little area we can target them fish on. Right, so we've been feeding the peg up now, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to start on the waggler a little bit deeper, just so I can see what's going on. Now, if I start missing bites or lose a few fish, I can always shallow up straight away, but I feel like to start the session, just because it's so deep, now normally conditions are telltale signs, so if it's a little bit more overcast, I'll be more inclined to start deeper. But it's a little bit warmer today, so I'm thinking I don't see many fish buzzing around, and nothing swirls in my feed, so they're telltale giveaway signs. So I might be wrong. I might think, well, I might be going on a different waggler, but I just want to use this Jura waggler just so I can like sort of search my peg and see if there's any feeding fish a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally, to start off with, I've been feeding it, I'm going to cast all the way past. I'm just going to try and sink my line as well. So just put it in a space where I need to be. Now I'm fishing, like I said, nice and comfortable distance. Now, just because that waggler doesn't mean we might get a fast bite as well. So I'm still anticipating that, but I like to keep my feed around my float as well. Just keep everything around my float, so if the fish do come and feed in, my pellet's in the middle of it as well. Now, with this sort of style of fishing, with this Jura waggler, I'm going to leave it in a little bit longer than I would with a pellet waggler. I'm not going to try and get into a rhythm of casting all the time, trying to use the noise, trying to create the noise to draw the fish into my peg. I'm just going to catch some feeding fish. I'm trying to catch some feeding fish that are a little bit deeper. Now don't be wrong, if we get signs on a float or a few missed bites, or when we feed we see a swirl, we can always change. It's a little bit far one. Always change over I'm not happy where that is now. Now the reason I'm sinking my line is because I don't want my line drifting around, so that's the reason why I'm sinking my lines. Don't want my line drifting around. I want to keep my tip of my rod dead close to the water to eliminate that drift around. So what this will do, if you allow it to drift around, is it allow your waggler to move out of position, causing it to drift, and I don't feel like that's the best way. What you want to do is keep your bait static. That's the ideal scenario. Now with feeding, there's either two different ways you can go about it. You can either feed and cast into your feed. So when I feel like there's a few fish there eating my bait, what I'll do is I'll prep them up. So I'll give them 2 pouches and I'll chuck my waggler past and draw it into the feed. But as we're just starting now, I just want to see if I can get any bites. So I'm literally just keeping my wagglers nice and still. There's a fish near the surface there. I'm just plonking some pellets around it. That's the sign there. A little indication then, so what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put my pellets into the peg. Keep an eye on where they go. I'm going to cast my waggler past and draw that into it. So if there's any fish buzzing around eating them pellets, they're going to have another one they can get hold of in a minute. Just keep it nice and still. Just the beauty of this sort of style of fishing, you can have one line, different types of wagglers, different depths, just to help you catch them fish. Now, you could fish them wagglers that we got there a lot deeper than you need to be, but I just like it with a sort of inserted waggler. Especially sometimes if water starts to cool off and fish start feeding a little bit deeper. Such a weird sort of style of fishing with these carp. Sometimes they want to be dead high, dead responsive to noise. Other times they just want to feed at a certain depth, and this is what you can trying to work out and catch them. Keep everything under the water, sink my line. Now if I do, bite then. See, if I do start to get that sort of signs, then quick signs after me chucking in, I know that I need to put a different waggler and shallow up. So there's little telltale signs that can allow you. So say if I do go now, and what I like to say, if I'm striking when I'm still trying to feed, I think we need to shallow up a little bit and put a different style waggler on, because it should be sort of like now where the pellet's just sitting on at full depth and a fish just comes up and intercepts it. That's when you're looking for your bite. So that's sort of like telltale sign I'm looking for. See, you're always trying to draw the fish into your peg by feeding, creating that noise, something falling through the water all the time. But also what you're doing as well is you're building up your bottom line, so your bomb line for later on in your session. So you're keeping all options covered, so if the fish do drop on the bottom later on, say last 90 minutes, last hour, where you can have a real good feed, you can catch them that way. Swing him back. That's on. See there, that's just, I didn't even get a chance to feed then, so that's come to the noise of the waggler. So what we might have found is this sort of day is you might need to put a shallow waggler on, but we've got one. Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to feed then, so it's a telltale sign that I've probably started at the wrong depth, but it's not to worry because we can literally put that other waggler on and go a little bit shallower and try and intercept these fish. Now, don't get me wrong, these fish coming out of spring now, the days are getting a lot warmer. It's like 20 odd degrees now in the days, so these fish could be starting to tune into that noise, then pellets going in. And if they do, and they start homing in on that, this is when that pellet waggler is really, really deadly. But just like to show on these deeper venues that this waggler doesn't always have to be about short, stumpy wagglers. I've just got a bigger net on today because you could catch some big fish. It just makes it so much easier netting them. But look at that nice big mirror. Easy 10 pound in. Right, so we just had that nice big 10 pound mirror. So the way I had that bite, I'm thinking I need to shallow up. So I'm cautious of that, but I don't want to change straight away. I just want to see if I can catch a little bit deeper on this 8mm on this drawer waggler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a few more chucks, and then I'm literally, if I get that problem again where I get a quick bite or a foul hook or miss a bite, then I'm definitely going to change that other waggler. So how am I going to go about my feeding now? Just moving around out of the way. Is I'm going to put my rod on my rod rest, pick up about 5 or 6 pellets, get them in that area where I've been fishing. I'm going to cast my waggler to the back of that as far as I can, and then reel it in, trying to sink the line. So make sure all that line is not lingering on the top of the surface. Just trying to get it all under the water so it's nice and direct. It's not pushing my rig. Now the reason because that is, like I said before, I'm not trying to be fast and efficient with this. I'm just trying to catch them feeding fish in a certain area. So I want to be leaving my waggler in for a little bit longer than I would say with a normal pellet waggler. So you'll see when we change the waggler in a bit, I'll probably be reeling in by now. It's sort of like different sort of process to catching them, as where this one, leave it there and leave it hanging in the water. Oh, there's a bite there. Try and get them fish milling through. So instead of just casting straight out, I'm literally 5 or 6 pellets again. Not trying to fire them into oblivion. Just trying to keep them under control where I can fish nicely. Get that line sunk. It's like I said before, like now, I feel like if a fish to eat the bait now, that's the perfect depth. But and one thing that has happened, it has warmed up a touch. So this is what you got to be careful. Oh, that was a bite then. Got to be careful of is conditions. Conditions can change quite a lot. So feed that bait again. They've had 2 bites there, but like I don't think they were really high up because I had them quite a while after the waggler had landed. So what I'm looking for is everything to sink, fish at a certain depth. That's a bad. See, I had a liner then, so if I have one more of them, I'm going to look to change and just fish a little bit shallower and be a bit more faster with my feed. Feel like there's a reason why we're missing them fish. There's a bite straight here. So that's a telltale sign there. Like I said before, I didn't get a chance to feed my catapult. So just because you want to fish in a certain way and trying to explain a certain way, the fish have other ideas. So literally we're going to have to put this waggler a little bit shallower. Just trying to get around the pipe. The beauty of this place, you fight like mad as well, so you get a good scrap of them. But yeah, so that's a little telltale sign. So because it's gone a little bit warm, I feel like the fish have come up a little bit higher. As where if it's a little bit cool, then fish might be sitting a little bit deeper to start with. So like I said, it's important to have all these little things in your armoury. But one thing is a nice big net and a nice big long landing net handle, because when a fish pops up, this one's come quite close, so probably heard me saying it, but it's a nice little mirror. When a fish pops up, you're going to be able to net it with ease You don't want to be struggling trying to shuffle them big fish into a net, because that's where you can lose them. It's the last thing you want. So what I'm thinking now is get this fish in, set my rig, say like 3 foot deep, 2.5 foot deep, probably like 4 foot now. Set it that deep and be a lot more active. I feel like the fish are tuned into them pellets going in. That's what it can change day by day. I just wanted to show you the other side of, see that there, nice big net, nice and easy to net. Nice little carp. Get him in the mouth. Oh. Unhook him. Wanted that one. Unhook him. Have to use the scourger. Use a little scourger on him. This little angle, but nice little 4-pound mirror. So what I'm going to do now is change. So change me depth. So hook length's about 15 inch. So if I want to, that's what you can do. Put my waggler there. So see, we took a fair depth off that. Don't get me wrong, the fish might want to fall in bait, but I feel like this is going to be the way to catch him now. A little bit shallow, a little bit smaller waggler. Just gone for a 5 gram pellet wag, just because I want to get it out there, make sure it's out there now. With this style of fishing before, I was going to feed and flick me bait into it, but as this, I want to create the noise and be the first bait the fish come and see. So on that first plop of that noise, the fish can home in on that. I'm trying to be fast and fishing. And then I'm going to feed literally once, give a little twitch, twice, and then I'm going to reel straight back in, straight away. Right, so we got just changed over to the pellet waggler. Made a little bit shallower, probably fishing about 3.5 foot now. Just changed me pellet. So a little bit of rhythm change now is I feel like the fish are tuned into noise, so I'm going to have to have a few more casts. So what I mean by this is I'm literally going to get in the process of chucking it in, holding my rod for a little bit, feed my bait, and then wind it back straight away. Now it might feel like you're not catching as much because you're in and out and dead busy, but this is the key of it. You've got to be nice and efficient with it. Got a nice little bit of a ripple on the water now. So float size is really important when your ripple's on the water, because you don't want, like I said before, you don't want a float that's not going to get you to the desired area. Give a little twitch and feed again, and then back in. So see how much faster it is already. It's only just started. Now it might feel too quick at first, but once you get in a little rhythm, it's not too bad. Feather that waggler into it, makes a nice little plop. Sort of like mimicking your 8mm sound. So if them fish are tuned in, they're going to come and find your bait. Now I will be expecting like quick unexpected bites on this, if you know that makes sense. So on that sort of Jura waggler setup, I'm setting the waggler, I'm sinking my line and waiting and anticipating the bite, but as of this, it could come at any time. It could come on the splash, say like now, or it could come when I twitch it back, or when I'm just feeding. Any time it can come, just because you're fishing a little bit higher, then pellets in the going through the water as well. Say, but all the time this, yes, say this is the middle of the day and it feels quite warm. Oh, you pulled me line that one. That's the problem, when you've got your catapult in your hand, you do miss a few bites. So I'm pulling my line tight. So that's really important. Sometimes if I don't have enough tight line to my tip, you can miss them bites because there's too much slack in the line, they just get away with it. But say that's a good sign straight away. We've had a couple of indications of being a bit more quicker with it. Make sure the feed's round. A little twitch. More so to keep everything tight so if any fish do come in. I don't feel like it might have been hanging on to it, that one. Don't feel like it is. What I might have to do, if this is foul looked, I might have to just shallow up slightly. Yeah, that's fine. Come off that one. So all I'm going to do is take about 6 inch off, just because I feel like it's got a lot hotter. This is what's important. Conditions can make a massive difference. Now, you can get these spells as well in the day where, say, coming on the last hour of the match, it goes a lot cooler and you stop getting bites on a waggler. Now, this is where fishing on the bomb can be so effective as well. So, cast the waggler back in. So the ideal time to get a bite would be now, because I've got the rod in my hand, it's nice and easy to do, but oh, that was a bite then. So what? Pellets come off. Bit of a nightmare here, this one now. So what I'm doing now, I'm thinking, right, well, I'm just going to change my feeding pattern up. You're always thinking and always, so I'm just literally going to fire my pellets in and chuck into it. So you're really busy all the time. See, I had a little swirl then on my pellets, so this could be my little bit away, better way. Just letting the fish get tuned into that plump, plump, and then you chuck yours in. Like yours is the only one falling through the water. Put the rod down. You just got to keep ringing the changes, keep going with it, keep persisting. Once you get a group of little feeding fish come through, they'll be in the areas just trying to lure them onto your hook. You can see the other one topping at the back of it. Ooh. Don't fire your catapult in. So right now I'm getting a bit, I feel like the fish are coming to the feed, so literally I'm going to feed it up and cast straight into it. That's what I mean about you make your jump and anticipate bites, because you're trying to hit your bites. You're wrong, sometimes just pull the rod in when they're feeding really aggressively, but sometimes just get a twitch on your rod, pulls your line tight and you missed it. That's the problem with. Just keep going with it. Now's the nicest time to catch them, is when you chuck your waggler and you make that plop. So there's any fish lingering in the area. That's why you want to keep the bait going in, because keep that bait going in. See, that's tight now, so that's on the settle of it there. So you'd be really tempted to try and feed them, but that's on the settle of it. So maybe thinking, right, what's the best way to catch? You feel like that plop's the best way, but the fish is still sitting in the feed, so it's sort of like the best of both worlds. We want the jaw waggler if it's a little bit deeper, but I feel like the fish is sitting in the feed a bit shallower. So what I'm thinking now is, maybe with this pellet waggler, just have a few chucks feeding and casting into it and then leaving the waggler. Because if the fish are eating the bait, it can be a great way of catching them like that. But we had a couple of signs there every time is when we twitched the line tight, gone to feed, and he got a rod pulled in. And that's the best. If you can get them just doing that, it's nice and easy. It means you don't have to strike. See that nice big net, nice chunky little mirror. Try and hold him up, be a bit easier. Nice chunky little mirror. A nice fat thing, but they're the type of fish we want to catch, and even some of his bigger brothers as well. Right, so carry on with the waggler fishing. So set it about 3.5 foot deep still. I'm just trying to work out which is the best way to go about catching it now, or catching some fish. Now we've got a nice little ripple going across the peg now, so this is very important to have the right size waggler on. If I had too light a waggler there, there's a fish straight away. Same again, same as before. It's no coincidence that you catch the fish in a certain way on certain days. So like today, that's been the key. Little plop in, little twitch back. As the fish comes twitch back, try and stop and go around that pipe. As the fish twitches back, it's every time, just pulls your line tight. So I don't mind them ones, they're nice and easy to catch them. There's no messing around with it. Just try and get me landing arm out the way. That's one beauty of this waggler fishing, it's dead effective for catching these carp in this open water on these nice deep lakes. Oh, you can catch some shallow lakes, but sometimes it's really effective when you fish on these deeper lakes. Also keeping your options covered, so fishing from 3 to 5 foot with a Jura waggler. If you feel like the fish is sitting in your feed and you need to fit a bit deeper, 4 to 5 foot is probably the most effective way. And if you feel like you need that plopping noise, now I feel like what's happening there is I'm going out, they're coming to the plot, but they're not, I feel like they're sitting at a certain depth, so 3 foot's probably the ideal depth the fish is sitting at. There we go. That's the beauty of having a longer landing at handle, bigger head, nice mirror. Try and hold him up, but don't want to drop him. Lovely fish. Classic sort of pellet wag fish. 4 to 5 pound, but there's the odd bigger one in here as well. So we'll just try and catch another one, because I said like before, that pause can be deadly sometimes. So if you're not feeding in your peg, I said before, you're raining pellets in all the time, you're making noise when you're not fishing, you're casting in. See, this is where it's been deadly, on the rest. So it's nice and safe, everything's dead tight. Pellets around your float. Now it's really important to be dead accurate as well when you're fishing the waggler. Even though you're casting around and you're landing it in different spots all the time, the reason we keep it like a nice tunnel area is because of later in today what's still to come. So you've still got bomb fishing to come. So the last thing I want to do is spread my bait over a 10 metre per area. I want to keep it as tight as I can. So when I do drop on that bomb, it's getting a little bit cooler now, so I'm not expecting loads and loads of frantic bites on this waggler. I'm more inclined thinking I can feel the air temperature dropping, it's getting a little bit cooler, sun's gone behind the clouds, and later on in the day as it's come now, that bomb line can be deadly. So keep working the float, keep in and out, making sure, just be obsessed, because that float max is nice and buoyant, it's got across the top of the water, I can see it. Now when I don't need to sink it, that's what I want it nice and tight to the float. Wind it like that onto my rest so everything's tight, it pops back up, that little twitch. See, that's perfect. Keep them pellets around the float. So my pellets just suspended in that water there, so I'm not going to wait too long. But so keep him busy. So I'm going to have one more chuck like this, and then I'm going to change it up, see if there's anything coming to my feed. So just plops that little waggler in. See, I can see that everything's tight, so if the fish does take it, it's going to bounce against my rod and it's going to make it a lot easier to catch. Little twitch. Now one telltale little sign that your bomb could be really good is early on in the day there was a lot of fish cruising around out in the middle of the lake. Now they've sort of like stopped now as what the many was this morning, and what you start to do is you start to see fish sort of like shorter. Now this for me is like feeding time, so feeding time, then fish will drop on the bottom after all them 8 mils you've been firing in, the ones that have got to the bottom, building up an area. And the thing is, you haven't touched anything of them fish, so when you're catching them on the Waggler, you're basically just catching the fish that are not on the bottom. So then the ones that are on the bottom do get really, really confident. So when you drop on, you expect to have, if the fish are feeding, you're going to have a good run. You're building it up, let them gain confidence. This is the thing with this sort of Waggler fishing, it can be like periods of like, you feel like you're doing a lot of stuff for no reward, and then all of a sudden, boom, catch 2 or 3 fish really quickly. That's why it's important just to keep going with it. Just be monotonous. Make sure you do all your little things right, so feather my Waggler in so it doesn't crash in like a feeder going into a nice little plop to mimic that 8 mil. Hopefully them fish hear that sound. Keep it there, nice and tight. See, same again, exactly the same as before. So that's the sort of today, that little plop's just drawing them in, and that little twitch must just catch their eye. So it's no coincidence, all 3 fish we've had on this are off a little twitch off the reeling it back before we feed. So, and we haven't even had to strike it a bite. So to me that says we're doing all the little things right. Keeping that line tight, making sure that feathering that Waggler in. Like I said before, if the fish drop a little bit deeper, you've got that Jura Waggler in your armoury. But the fish are reacting like they are today, we're just getting that little plop. That's what we're needing off this pellet Waggler. That little plop, that little 8 mil going in, and it mimics the sound of it. And then the fish are coming to the noise, and as soon as we twitch it, it's just catching one's eye. Now this is the beauty of this long landing net handle. Fish is way out there. Big net. Scoop him up. Now one thing I will say is big carp fishing, but bigger carp fishing, is don't grab your net where my hand is here or here, because if that fish thrashes, it's going to damage your landing net. Literally, it's going to snap your landing net in case. Literally grab him by the spread block and in between your knees. Sometimes they are quite difficult to handle, these big fish, and if you've got a smaller net they can be quite boisterous and be erratic. So get him out, just put my rod down. I'll try and lift him up, but I don't want to, if he starts thrashing, I'm not going to drop, I don't want to drop him. So they are nice little mirror from the Quarry Pool on the Waggler, or on the little twitch on the pellet Waggler. So like I said, you could come another day and where the splash is key, where the fish are really homing into the noise and they're eating it on the splash. But I feel like the fish are a little bit deeper as well today, because we caught well on that Jura Waggler, but maybe we shouldn't have come off it. Maybe that was the way they like to fall in bait, falling through the water, and because we're fishing a little bit deeper, that means We've got that pellets falling through the water slower, for longer, catching them fish's eye and that catching them fish. So looking back, all the fish we caught on the pellet waggler have been identical, nice slow falling bait, a little bit deeper, but we need that little plop to draw them in and catch them. So a little bit shallower, and you're making a busy fishing, you want a little pellet waggler, but one little trick, that is a must have in your army on these deeper venues. So enough of the waggler fishing now. I've fed that bomb, it's gone a little bit cooler and I can't wait to get on it, so let's get on it. Right, so we've built a peg up now, and I feel like, because it's gone a little bit cool and we've stopped getting as many bites on a waggler, it's time to have a little look on that bomb line. Now, telltale signs is bubbles around where you've been fishing. That just indicates a fish like ripping the bottom up, eating the bait, blowing out, feeding aggressively, and can be a telltale sign of catching on the bomb. Now, I forgot to mention before, I've just got a 12-inch hook length. Now, fishery rules here say you're allowed a minimum of 9, so if the fish were feeding really aggressively, I feel like a 9 would be better, but for now I've just got a 12-inch hook length just as a minimum. Now what I'm looking to do is achieve with this is to create like a bolt rig effect. So the reason why I've got my ounce lead is because when I set my tip, I want to set it as tight as I can before I'm pulling the lead. So what you'll find is the little process I'm going to go through now is I'm going to feed twice quite aggressively, 10 to 12 pellets twice in an area, then cast my bomb just off the back of that. Now the reason why I do this is quite deep, so I want to try and make sure I'm like fishing just on the back of my bait, but also when I tighten my tip up I want to be nice and aggressive and tighten it to it so it creates a bolt effect. So in theory my rig's working for me in what I'm trying to do. So nice tight bolt effect, you imagine, fluorocarbon hopefully just kicks it a little bit further away from the bomb, so when the fish picks up it's got less time to have in its mouth, so it hits against the bomb and you get a nice clean bite. Now one thing I don't want like stabs on the tip. This is what I'm not looking for. I just want a nice tight tip and it just to go zzz, or it's like starts wobbling back where the fish is trying to get rid of the hook bait. So that's what I'm looking for. Now hook bait wise, you can either use single or double 8mm. Now I'm just going to go for a single, see what I can catch in it. If I feel like there's a lot of fish in the peg and I can catch quicker, I will try a double 8mm just to see if I can get away with it in bigger single hook bait. But I've just got a single 8mm on there. So what I like to do is literally trap it under my arm, fill quite a few pellets up into the area, cast them in, so it's like 2 hits of pellets. So the first thing, just want to check my reel, my drag's on nice and loose, just so if I get any savage bites it's going to pull my drag. You can get some really aggressive bites on this. See there, I'm going to have my tip set just so it's dead tight. Just be patient. Now you might be thinking, why am I not, how I'll go about feeding this now. Now what I like to do is I like to sit here, give it like 4 or 5 minutes without any bait going through the water, and this claws any fish that are above. You're not introducing bait to keep them off the bottom, and it gives them a chance of feeding through the water. You're feeding a big hit on the bottom, or a big hit in your flip, making a load of noise, chucking in, and hopefully them fish will be on the bottom feeding. It's trying to draw them down to the bottom where your hook bait is. The last thing I want to do is, I don't know where my bomb is now. Like when I'm fishing, that's a line indication. So when I chuck it in at first, I know where I've fed, so I can chuck to the back of it. So I know, it's like you're pole fishing. You wouldn't just randomly cab pot a load of bait randomly without knowing where you're fishing. You literally want to be nice and accurate, and this is a way you can do it. So I don't want to start loose feeding over the top. I'd rather just chuck in, feed my bait, chuck in, sit there nice and patiently, give it like 3 or 4 minutes. If I don't get a bite, I'm going to do and repeat that little process again, and then I'll start catching. But what you'll find is, because you're not putting it through the water, the fish will start going around, grubbing on the bottom, intercept your bait, and it just makes them a little bit easier to catch. Said I want to be nice and accurate. This is the reason why I don't want to be spraying bait in it where I think, oh, that's where I think where I'm fishing. It's okay in a waggler, and it's okay when you're building your bomb line up, because you're not really fishing it. You're just putting bait into your peg. You're just getting them confident. But when you're fishing it, you want to be nice and accurate. And it makes such a difference being accurate with your feeding to how quick you can get a bite. So you are going to get signs, but it's that sort of like proper pull round, or that like slow movement of the fish not ragging its head, trying to get rid of the hook. Now you may think, well, why don't I clip up as well so I know where I'm fishing is on the same spot every time? Is because you'll see if we get on with these savage bites, they literally want to take your rod into the lake. So if I was clipped up, the last thing I'd want is my clutch starting to go and then I'm hitting the clip and losing my whole setup. I'd much rather just be nice and accurate, fishing over the top of where I've just put my loose offer in, so just fishing on the back of it or in the middle of it if you feel like the fish are feeding really aggressively. So you imagine them fish that have been going down all day, just picking odd 8 mils up, going round, mooching round. That's what you've got to imagine. They're just going down, picking a few up, coming back up, picking a few up, eating on the bottom, mooching round. So you imagine there might not be as much bait as you think on the bottom. So when you get, see that savage bite, it makes you jump. Ugh. So see how that made me jump that? So that's how savage the bite can be. So you think if you had your clip now, I'd be hitting the clip now. So that's probably what, 3.5 minutes that's been in, something like that. And just being round. So you imagine it takes them fish time just to find it, but you imagine the more fish you get in the peg, I'm not feeding as often now, so you imagine they're eating the bait on the bottom. So say if there's a load of loose particles on the bottom, as the more fish start feeding, this is the concept I'm trying to look for, the more fish start feeding, what you're going to find is going to happen is they're going to eat all them loose particles, and there's going to come to a point where the only bait going in is your 2 big pouches at that point. And when that gets to that point, that's when you can really start catching. When the fish start being nice and aggressive, and that the only bait in the peg is your bait on the bottom, that's when you can really get them quick instant bites. And that's why it's important to be nice and accurate. The last thing you want to do is start catapulting every 30 seconds again, because that's how you're looking to fish over your waggler line. So this is why it's important to fish this line. Ooh, it's not me waggling. Fish this line later on in the day when the fish are eating on the bottom. What you find is that, especially at this venue, is them bigger fish don't half love eating them 8 mils on the bottom. They're not. Don't be wrong, you can catch big fish on the waggler. A lot of the times, a lot of the smaller feeding fish, but as later as the match goes on, you can get a real big stamp of fish. It's not a massive fish, but see all of them in here, it's good scrappers. All these venues as well, up and down the country, a little bit deeper. That last sort of 90 minutes, 2 hour marks, if it goes a little bit cool like it has done now, you can see it's not as bright as it was before. Just, you can catch these fish on the bottom. And it's probably one of my favourite styles of fishing because it's so aggressive when you get your bite. Makes you jump. But that's because you're getting that sort of bite because of the setup you've got. Fish is using the bomb to your effectiveness. It's free running, so you use any fishery up and down the country, but you're just making sure that as soon as that hook bait's picked up and it can, the first chance it can get to connect with that lead and the tip, it's gonna bite. Had loads of success over the years on it. Try and get him in. See, if I had like 6 pound main line on now, you're having to be really careful, but because I've got 8 on, I'm just giving this fish some stick, just keeping in contact with it, trying to get his head up. There you go. Lovely mirror, that one. So there your munchers then, 6 and 7 pounders. That sort of fishing. Nice fish. I'm not going to hold him up because I don't want to drop him. Put him down. See, get me rod back. Been in the right pickle today. So now, what I'm thinking about the little process of doing it is think about my hook bait, so just a single hook bait for now. So same it goes again. Put a fair few pellets in the catapult. What you'll find as well, the more pellets you actually put in your catapult, the tighter the grouping is. So it just enables you. So on the back of that feed, I know where to cast. Keep where the ripples are. On the back of that. Does go in with quite a bit of commotion, but I need to catch the fish, so I'm not too fussed. Keep that, make sure that drag's nice and loose. Not too loose where it's going to scream off for no reason. You do want to make sure it's the right amp tension. And literally, I'll try and lock it in my little butt. Bend that tip round as close as I can. So now I'm set now. So keep an eye on 46 it is on my watch. So give it to 50 and then I can see where we're at with it. So before, it's all them little things. Say if I was fishing up to an island on the bottom, then you can feed with a catapult when you're fishing with your bait in the water, but because I'm on an open water lake, and yes, I can think I'm being accurate, but the way I see it, the way I've fished there is literally, I've fed 2 pouches of pellets, probably the size of my peg that I'm sat on today, and I've just chucked my bomb in the middle of it. So I've got a little area where the fish are going to target. I've made a load of noise when I've crashed them pellets in. They've all fallen to the bottom, some fish intercepting it, and the fish go down hopefully and now start eating it. It's the beauty of the bomb now, like I say, it's gone a little bit cooler. I feel that's where the feeding fish will be. And like later on in your match or your session, you can catch some real big fish. So that's the beauty of it. What your one line approach. You can fish on your waggler early when the fish are buzzing round, or coming off the bottom feeding when they're in the sunlight. But as soon as them fish go down with a big bed, you can imagine you with a few pellets on the bottom to start with. See, there's the bite straight away. See how aggressive the bite can be? And see that if I had that clip on now, that'd be the end of that clip. Just steady him up, put a little bit more drag on. But this is the thing, these venues where they are big, or your places like your Larford, your Medlands, where they're 10, 15 pound easy. They are that in this place, but they're also crazy. So just keep the rod nice and low. Keep winding it back. Don't change the direction too much. Just don't upset the fish. Literally, keep it one motion. If he wants to run, I've got my clutch there that can take it, or I can just back wind a little bit. Using the rod to full advantage. But that's what I say, it's one of my favourite styles of fishing because it's exciting. There's loads of ways you can catch. You can catch on a waggler. Oh, a little bit deeper. Let's come off that one. Just pulled him off. Check me hook. Yeah, my hook's alright. So what I'm going to do, same again. I just want to be right in the back of that where I'm fishing. Now you can tell when there's a few fish in your peg because it starts to rattle your tip on the way down. But don't forget that clutch, just give it a little. Now one thing that is important is make sure you have your rests. Like I said before, them bites are savage. They were quite tame, some of them, from what you can get, so have a nice little front rest where you know if your rod's going to get pulled, it's not going to get pulled into the lake and get taken. Got a nice little clip there for the back and then the front. Last thing, you don't want it on you, holding it on your knee and you just move around. It gives you free, say if you're feeding like a short pole or catapulting a few on your pellets on your pole line, it gives you that option to move around, your hands free if you need a drink or something. But as we're with that, it's just nicely locked in position. So you do get a few liners on it. But also it helps you with this, the tightness of the tip. You're either looking for like a sharp pulling action or the sort of like the fish knocking its head back into. If you have your tip just slightly, you might get a sharp rattle and you pick up and you're just wasting time then. So just being efficient this way, making sure, yep, that's the way I'm going to fish. Right, so no bite that shut. What I'm going to do, just literally same again. Crash some pellets in. So first thing I do is lighten that clutch off a little bit. Sink my line. So it's a little process of doing it. Just literally. Just move my rig that. I think the fish just swum through that. Let's do it again. Last thing I want to do, some rubbish on my hook. Last thing I want to do is sit there and not know if my bait's presented right. Again, it's gone to the bottom now. So literally pop him in. Keep him tight. Now you do get bites like that because obviously there's a lot of fish in these venues and fish swimming further through, we're going to knock your line. Move your position of your tip, but keep everything tight. For the confidence, I'm just going to sit there in my bomb fishing. A little bit more traditional way of doing it with the running line. I know a lot of people like the cubes, and I like them when you're fishing method feeder and stuff over the top because you can chop and change, but when I'm purposely doing bomb fishing, this is my setup I like to do just because I feel it works for me. No little way you can do it. Right, so there's a bite. Like I said before, see it? Dead angry. Pulls you in, but like I say, that's like 3.5 minutes again, so there's been a lot of patterns today. And these are one things to know. If you go to a venue regular, how the fish, you know what times, you're not wasting any times with fishing. I know, as we're Wagler, we know today like was a type of day where you need a little bit of sound going through, but like a little bit deeper, just that falling through the water. So that pellet falling through the water, like on the Waggler, and as we're the bomb, that little process of doing it, just feed twice, chuck it in, give it 4 to 5 minutes. So I'll be ideally looking at 4 minutes for like what's going on, because we're catching the fish 3.5 to 4 minutes. So if you feel like you need to give it a little bit longer, give it 5, but it's not aggressive where the fish are just eating everything you chuck in. They are quite clever, they pick and choose, get little pods of fish feeding throughout the day. But with these methods and three little styles of fishing, you can get the most out of your swim. We've had a mega day here at the Quarry Pool, demonstrating just sort of like deeper water fishing with wagglers and bombs. On these open water fisheries, there's loads up and down the country. And hopefully you've picked up some tricks and tips to put more fish in your net. Move out of the way. So before, dead simple fishing, nothing fancy, a couple of wagglers, a 30-gram bomb, a couple of bags of fishery 8mm pellets, and look what you can catch. Some nice, that's a lovely common, that one. Lovely common, that. Proper nailed that one as well. Just try and hold him off. If he flaps, I'm not going to hold him up, but lovely common. Probably about 6-7 pound. Yep, don't want to drop him. So, keep your tactics simple. You can catch great fish like this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the Preston's YouTube page.